So Division 2 will give one words for our rankings from 8 to 1 and then break them down afterwards. So my official Division 2 predictions for 2024. In 8th place, last, I have gone with Fermanagh. 7th, I've gone with Louth. 6th, I've gone with Cavan. 5th, I've gone with Kildare. 4th, I've gone with Meath. 3rd, I've gone with Cork. 2nd, Donegal. 1st, Armagh.
Okay.
No, what have you gone with?
Okay, I think I'm going to go Louth 8 anyway. I think Louth could be in bother this year. The way that Mickey Hart stepped away when they had made great progress with him. And I think if he had stayed, I would be putting them maybe closer to the top. But, the way that the split happened, especially after he had committed to another year and then took the Derry job. Now, he is a manager with big ambitions, and if a team like Derry comes looking for you to take them over and they're on such a high, it was always going to be a hard one for him to turn down. I know Louth aren't happy about it, but you can see why he took the job as well. I think Ger Brennan could be in a bit of bother this year. I think they're going
He's taken over as pilot when the only direction is down. Mickey Hart has brought them as far as I think that group can go. 3rd place in Division 2, Leinster final. Are they going to win Leinster? No. Are they going to win the All-Ireland? No, not really. So what now?
Yeah, I would really struggle. I would really worry for them. 7, I'm going to go for Fermanagh. 6, I am going to go... This is a little bit harder. Possibly... See, Meath, I don't know if Meath are going to really target the league because they're already in the Sam Maguire. So they might be able to use this to kind of build up towards the Leinster Championship.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I think they're stronger than Cavan. So I might put Cavan 6. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I think Meath, Cavan on any day, that would be a tight game. I wouldn't really see either one winning it by a lot. And then I might put 5 Meath. 4 Kildare. I would agree Cork 3, Armagh 2, and Donegal 1.
Yeah, no, I think we're fairly even. So we'll go in 2s. I think we have more or less gone with there's no Kerry and Galway split in this one anyway, where one of us has picked the 2nd to finish 4th or anything like that. So 8th and 7th we're in agreement that's going to be Louth and Fermanagh to go down.
Yeah.
As we said, Ger Brennan's taken over at a time when the only way is down, really. Fermanagh got promoted from Division 3, yes, but they really looked off the pace in that Division 3 final against Cavan. And it's not a great way to get promoted if you get outclassed in the final by the team that you are going up with. And I haven't seen enough that tells me that Fermanagh are going to be able to beat enough teams to stay up. Louth with them as well. Again, as I said, look, James Cluiche is retired. Like, they're only a Sam Mulroy or a Kieran Downey injury away from being in big trouble when it comes to their forward line. So, yeah, those 2 are the 2 that I think are going to go down.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a pity for Louth. I do feel for them. I think they could have gotten promoted from Division 2, but I think that's probably and Mickey Hart probably did consider that, but that's as far as they can go. Getting to a Leinster final is great, but you saw how far away Dublin are. They're just, Leinster is a shut. It's not even an open case. It's a shut case until Dublin start struggling again. And I don't know, maybe Meath are thinking they're going to be the team to do it. And if they try and rest their players and, target that might be their way of approaching it. But I would be shocked if Meath went down. I don't see Meath getting relegated. I don't think Cavan will either, especially when they did get promoted last year. And Cavan are kind of, you just don't know with them. they could do very well this year. You know, they did win the Ulster Championship a few years ago. They always have a doggedness about them.
Some big
Kildare.
players missing this year though for Cavan. Big players like Gerald McKinnon's not there.
Yeah.
Thomas Galligan hasn't come back. We're unsure on Raymond Galligan. I don't think Conor Moyne is going to be around. Like there's some big players that are gone. So I think then with the whole, what is really going on with the management team? Is Eamon Murray going to be leading it? Is Raymond Gallagher going to be leading it? I just think they're not a safe bet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would be interested to see how Galligan does as manager. I can't imagine he's going to do a player manager thing. I think he's already, I think he's kind of already ruled that out himself anyway. But it's interesting to see how it goes. And I know you mentioned there the lads that are gone, but Cavan always have just little nippy players coming through. They're a strong footballing county, so I think they'll definitely stay up. Kildare likewise. I think they're always a pretty strong team too. And then Cork are just, I think Cork will be in league final. They're just unlucky. It's Donegal and Armagh in there as well. I think Cork are missing firepower up front. They need to find that. I think they need to use this league to uncover a new forward. You know, I know they have Brian Hurley, and I have a lot of time for Brian Hurley. I think he's a great footballer, but they need more strength up front.
For me, David Buckley's that man. For me, David Buckley, very impressive in the preseason competitions. He was someone who's been a sharpshooter throughout all the levels. He got injured last year. It was a really bad injury during the league, and that derailed his whole year. But he's back now. He, led the scoring for them as Cork won the McGrath Cup. On penalties against Kerry, he was their top scorer in that final. Like, he's a cracking player. And, I think he could absolutely be the forward that they need. Cathal O'Mahony has had that potential for years. Blake Murphy has had that potential for years. So I would actually group Cork and Kildare together. I think that they're very similar. Kildare have the under-20 All-Ireland winners that they have to integrate into their team. Glenn Ryan's the man tasked with doing that. There's a couple of them that are away. James McGrath, Jack Robinson, I think. Both of them. I'm unsure if both of them are around. They still have a hell of a lot of talent. Daniel Flynn, again.
Yeah.
They
were in the Sam Maguire competition last year too, as well.
Yeah.
So they are. Oh yeah, I would have a lot of respect for Kildare. I would rate them. They're always a high ranking team.
Yeah, no, I do think that Cork and Kildare together, I think that's similar. I think Kildare for me would be fifth, Cork would be third, but I think that both of them are in a position where they need to get the next couple of years right. They really do. They need to manage this transition of these quality under 20, under 23 group that they have, and manage the transition of their team into these lads, because these lads could set them up for serious success in the future. Like Kildare and Meath for the last few years now have been beating Dublin at minor level, beating Dublin at under 20 level. It's time to transition that into the senior team, and hopefully for them, that could result in a massive shake-up of the Leinster Championship. And if the result does come, which time will say that surely one day Dublin will lose in Leinster, it will be an earthquake when it happens. First time since 2010. I mean, as I said, Instagram didn't exist the last time Dublin lost in Leinster. But then we've grouped the top two together. Donegal and Armagh were both fairly confident that these are the two that will go up. Personally, I do think that Donegal will win Division 2, but I think Armagh will be desperate to, because Kieran McGeeney since 2015 doesn't have any silverware in the cabinet since he took over the job. But I do think those are the two that will go up.
Yeah, I would say so. I think McGuinness is, already, that's a big goal for him, is to get them back up to Division 1. And similar to, Dublin, like remind people who the hell Donegal are, kind of thing. They've been a little bit in the wilderness, and he is, I'm sure, has already kind of marked that as a big one for him. And I would be surprised if they didn't. If they start to struggle again like they did last year, then they are in real bother, because if he can't get the best out of them, one thing that he has been marked out for as a manager is how much potential he can unlock in whatever group of players he's involved with. He's a football obsessive, absolute manic, like just the amount of footage that he was pouring over before video analysis became a thing is frightening. Like it's a food group to him. And I think if anybody is going to pull Donegal out of their funk, it's him. And I think getting to a league final would be a massive part of his master plan for Donegal this year.
Do you think he's in a better place now than he was in 2010, late 2010, when he took over for the first time?
Well, you see, back then, like I remember, he's talked at the team, the players have talked about it, he's talked about it. Donegal were kind of a nothing team at the time, and they've all spoken about that big meeting they had. They were put off into groups, and they could really feel that this was a different setup under him. But they were kind of coming out of the wilderness a small bit. There wouldn't have been the pressure. There wouldn't have been the, what are you going to do to get them back up there? It was, well, who are you and what are you going to do at all? And he had to, he was really kind of starting on a different footing back then. This time there is pressure, there is expectation, there is, you're the Messiah to kind of revive the Donegal band again. So I think it's too hard to know because he's been away for a while, with soccer, different things. He's been off the radar a small bit. It's hard to know what Donegal are going to be like. I think that's why I think Division 2 is going to be so intriguing, because we're going to finally see what Jim McGuinness can do at a second bite of the cherry with Donegal.
Yeah, and I just think, like, because I had the interview with Leo McClune, he was on, we were talking about it, and he was saying, yeah, the pressure is what's different this time. Is when he stepped in 2010, nobody still really expected them to go anywhere near as close as they did, or as far as they did, sorry. Like within 2 years, they were the undisputed Kings of Ulster and All-Ireland champions. I mean, that was never going to be on the horizon when they got absolutely whipped out by Armagh in the qualifiers in 2010. Was so far away from them, and from that point on he was just electric with them. But then this time he's coming in and everybody's saying, well, you're the guy that did it for us last time, do it again. And a lot of people are going to be watching his every result. And then has the game completely evolved from that point? He was a pioneer. He was someone that was streets ahead of anybody else back in 2011. But that is 2011, and we've seen across sports, like the likes of, say, Arsene Wenger with the football, that like Arsenal were untouchable at the start of the 2000s, and by the mid-2010s, he looked completely stuck in the past. And like that's just something that happens across sports, and that's why Jim McGuinness, if he comes back and does it again, he proves that he's on a whole other level. But the reality is, we all know he's going to demand a hell of a lot out of his players. They will run into the ground for him. And he's only going to keep players around that are willing to run into the ground for him. So I think that's another massive thing that we have to note about him. And Armagh then, they decided narrowly to keep Kieran McGeeney. He's at the helm again for another year. It's stand up or shut up at this point for Armagh. They've had this talent for years. It's time to make something of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've been unlucky. Penalties have just been killing them.
If they won all those penalty shootouts, they would have reached back-to-back semi-finals in an Ulster Championship.
Yeah. They're like, I mean, I've always been a big Armagh girl. I've always really liked Armagh since they first won, when they won the All-Ireland in 2002. I really, really liked them. I don't know why. I was so drawn to them. They play good football. They're physical side. They still are. But I suppose Ulster football will do that to you. There's not a team in Ulster that hasn't. You have to be physical if you want to survive in that competition. And the players hold Kieran McGeeney so highly. Like there's rarely ever, conflicts really that I know of anyway, big player upheavals or, big disagreements with Kieran. He's a figure of huge respect in Armagh. It's not really a surprise that I think since Colin Collins stepped away, I think Kieran is the the longest running inter-county manager, and that's not a feat to be ignored. And it's testament to how well regarded he is in Armagh. And they've just been unlucky with, just with the penalties going the wrong way for them. Like again, they're a team that's always in there or thereabouts. Like Rian O'Neill is an absolute wizard. He's one of the best footballers at the moment. And I think they're going to really love seeing Jim McGuinness back. I think that's actually going to bring out the best in a lot of teams, because it's going to revive all rivalries. It's going to remind teams of what it was like when Donegal were this team that just came up with this game plan. And I hate when people say, "Oh, Jim McGuinness ruined football with the blanket defence thing." It shows up how little you know about football if you think that's what happened. Because what Jim McGuinness did was, he didn't just decide one day, "I wonder what would happen if I put 14 players behind the ball, see what that does." Like, it was so much more nuanced than that. Like, he came up with a game plan for a particular set of players. Now, it didn't work in its first iteration, but it did get them to an All-Ireland semi-final, and it did push Dublin to their absolute wits' end, and made that, like, that's where Dublin won their All-Ireland that year, was that they were the team to unlock that. But it was revolutionary. It was, whether people like to see it that way or not is another thing, but he did do it, and it was revolutionary. It got them very close, and then he reinvented the wheel a bit the following year and pushed them over the line. And that is the making of a brilliant manager, and I think that's going to push other teams along massively this year.